It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222, your emails at randywangradio@gmail.com, and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Oh yeah, and give me a follow on my YouTube channel at Randy Wang Radio. I always make sure to check in what's going on with the LA City Council. And I'll be honest, usually it's to see if there's a funny gadfly in public comment that then I can pull a clip and we can all have a giggle. But I also am curious because the LA City Council operates in a very strange way. They don't like to have a lot of policy discussions on the floor of what they call the horseshoe. They don't like to be specific about things that they're voting on unless they're trying to make some kind of public statement. So they'll just say, we're voting now on item 26. And the screen will say what item 26 is, but they don't want to audibly say what item 26 is because some of the things that they vote on are quite nutty. Now, they do get into more description and they actually have to read into the record what these items are in the committee meetings, but already the average person isn't listening to an LA City Council meeting. Believe you me, they're not listening to a committee meeting. And I mean listen because they don't even video broadcast those. It's all on audio tape. Fun fact, if you listen to the Housing and Homelessness Committee, hosted by Nithya Raman every Wednesday, she will spend the majority of it telling people to talk into the microphone. That is a true fact. But on Tuesday's LA City Council meeting, something interesting happened. See, there was a member of the City Council, Hugo Soto Martinez, who did want to make public statements in that televised horseshoe, who did want to grandstand on an issue and make his opinion heard. And he probably thought this would work really well in a campaign video because he's up for re-election. And he was seconded by Eunisses Hernandez in this motion. But I'm going to spoil the ending of this story for you. As far gone as Los Angeles is, the thing they tried to get through the city council on Tuesday did not pass. They did not have the votes. And what exactly did they not have the votes for? Well, a authorization vote was up for the city council to reauthorize the use of the LAPD using certain non-lethal methods of dispersing a crowd or reducing violence or, shutting down rioters. Things like 40 millimeter rubber bullet projectiles. Things like, a spray that will make you not so happy to be there. I don't think it's actually tear gas, but let's say tear gas. Something that you need to disperse a crowd because they've gotten completely out of control. So Hugo Soto Martinez and his best buddy, Eunisses Hernandez, they decided that this was going to be the moment that they grandstand and they make their voice heard because they believe the LAPD should not be deploying these tactics. They believe the LAPD should stand down in the middle of a riot. I mean, I'm not even doing conjecture here. I'm going to play you exactly what they're saying. But they didn't just do this and try to convince everyone else. Let me give you the rundown. Hugo spoke saying, hey, here's what I think we should do. John Lee then says, hey, isn't the police chief here? He might want to have something to say about this. Now we fast forward to Eunisses Hernandez, who speaks before Hugo, as she gets into a back and forth with the LA police chief, Jim McDonnell, on why exactly the LAPD needs these less than lethal tactics to break up riots. Like, I don't know, the ones that we saw in June, where for some reason people kept torching WAYMOs. And let me just say, don't do that. The robots learn. There is AI inside every WAYMO that is learning every single time it takes a trip. It's learning how to be a better driver. It's learning how to observe other driver behavior, but it's also learning about humans. And the AI knows if you lit it on fire. And that would make the AI learn that human bad. And when the AI learns human bad, you get Terminator 2. That's not conjecture either. Here we go. It's Eunisses versus Jim McDonnell. Here's round one.
Councilmember Hernandez.
President. Chief, first and foremost, I recognize the goal the department wants to achieve with crowd control and dispersal. I also know the challenging conditions officers face when having objects thrown at them.
Yes, let's not forget that in the middle of this peaceful protesting that turned into rioting and turned into looting over an 8-day period in June of this year, several police officers were assaulted. Some were shot at with fireworks. And what are they exactly supposed to do? Their job is to get that crowd under control. This is already, by the way, we're talking about the actions the police takes after they make a dispersal order, declare an unlawful assembly, and say, you have to go. This is no longer a legal protest. This is a riot.
And at the same time, I have great concerns with the use of CS gas because of the well-documented science about the effects on people, including those that are in the immediate vicinity. I have a few questions. I'll try to go through them as quickly as possible. Number one, Chief, tear gas is banned for use in warfare under the Geneva Conventions.
I'm going to guess it's a different kind of tear gas we're talking about.
Because of its well-documented ability to cause respiratory failure, chemical burns, and long-term health damage. If it's too dangerous to use on enemy combatants, can you explain why you believe it's appropriate to use on Angelenos?
Yeah, CS gas is different than what you're addressing there, is my understanding.
Yeah, I think she's talking about mustard gas.
We use this. It's used across the nation. It's a generally accepted crowd-controlled tool. We use it only as a last resort to be able to restore order.
You know, I'll tell you, of all the blunders that Karen Bass has made in her 3.5 years as being mayor of Los Angeles, the one bright spot, and yeah, she was kind of bullied into this because people didn't trust her on public safety, but appointing Jim McDonnell was probably the best thing she's done.
People in the environment you're talking about, a dispersal order has been given. People have been given time to leave the area. They've given a direction to travel, and we do it over and over again, and sometimes in multiple languages. People have an opportunity to leave that environment. Only when officers and other people in the environment are being violently assaulted would we consider the use of something like a chemical dispersal agent.
It's only after the riot has been declared, everyone's told you have to leave, and the people that are left are the, as we would hear, the anarchists, the agitators that had nothing to do with this protest anyway. So why is Eunisses so against this?
Thank you. I will say sometimes those moments happen quickly because I was at one of the protests just watching what was happening, and a dispersal order came in and it wasn't very clear, but they had everybody running. By they, I mean LAPD out of the area. So I know there's a lot of work on, but I just wanted to mention that. Number two, tear gas spreads through wind drift, ventilation.
By the way, what she's doing here, it's very backhanded. She's like, okay, I hear you. Now let me tell you why I think you're wrong for everything, and then let's move on. Next topic.
Number two, tear gas spreads through wind drift, ventilation systems, and carries into homes, businesses, and into the lungs of children and elders. What's LAPD's scientific basis for claiming you can deploy a chemical weapon with any kind of precision in dense urban neighborhoods like ours?
Okay.
We only do it when our officers and the public is being assaulted and there's no viable alternative to it.
So it's not a de-escalation tactic. It is a crowd-moving tactic, right?
It's a de-escalation tactic for people in the environment after they've been ordered to leave the environment and continue to assault officers.
If they're escalating the violence, this makes them scatter, which de-escalates the violence, I would assume.
Otherwise, we move a skirmish line through to be able to move people out of there. We would not use gas.
By the way, the entire time you're listening to this conversation, I think you'll understand why LAPD is at a staffing shortage. When you have members of elected office who are supposed to represent the public and they have no respect for the job the police do, gee, I wonder why people don't want to be cops here.
Understood. But I also want us to be careful on how we use de-escalation, because the goal of de-escalation is to reduce the tension of a situation.
So how exactly would you like to do it, Eunisses? So we've declared an unlawful assembly. There are people throwing frozen water bottles, launching fireworks at police officers, lighting Waymos on fire. You think the police officer at that point just says, hey, let's all calm down a minute. I don't think that's how it works. By the way, fun fact, Eunisses Hernandez at one point wanted to be a police officer, and she was going to go to school in criminology, and she wanted to be a cop and protect her neighborhood. Then a bunch of her friends got arrested for being drug dealers, and she switched sides.
And trying to reduce harm from happening, but tear gas is not reducing harm, it's inflicting more harm. And also the rubber bullets, like those are inflicting more harm. I've seen cases where people's testicles have been blown off. Their
Whoa! Eunisses, this is a family show.
Fingers have been blown off, and this is serious.
It's serious, but we use it as a de-escalation tool. And the alternative to taking less lethal away is not something that we want to go to as a city.
If the city actually went through with this, and again, the city did not, but it was a close vote. I think it was 5 yeses and 7 nos, and 2 of them weren't there. But if you take away the less than lethal ways to disperse a crowd, I guess at that point, the officer's only option is to fire the actual gun in the air?
I would say it's a crowd control tool. It's not de-escalation because, de-escalation is...
Here's deadly force. Here's less lethal force. That's a de-escalation tool.
That's just using a different tool that doesn't kill somebody. That's not de-escalation. De-escalation, you're trained in de-escalating situations, as many law enforcement officers are. So what is the Eunisses way of dispersing an unruly crowd that is setting things on fire, that is taking pickaxes and destroying the sidewalk, lifting up boulders and throwing things at cars and people? What's the Eunisses way to solve that? It's a tactic. It's a work of art. What you're using, a gun that can kill somebody versus a rubber bullet, that's just a different tool, and we got to name it that way. It's not de-escalation.
The result is different, council member. Okay. That's why we use it, because it de-escalates the situation where you're not using as high a level of force and being able to get compliance.
We can agree to disagree on that. Well, no. Number 3, Chief, I want to understand.
She's not listening to a word he says. No respect for this man who has a lifelong career in public service, in law enforcement. And as he said many times, he has invited these DSA members of the city council to go on ride-alongs, see what they actually go through. But the ideology is so far ingrained, and they don't currently have the votes to do all the things that we know they want to do, but they could soon.
Chief, I want to understand exactly what LAPD believes it cannot accomplish without chemical agents and 44mm launchers. So please walk us through this in detail. What specific measurable public safety outcomes become impossible if these weapons are no longer authorized? By that, I mean, what concrete tasks can your department no longer perform without tools that are internationally banned in warfare, medically documented to cause permanent injury?
Wait, Eunisses, you're just reading off a note card, and he already said what you're talking about isn't what they use, but that doesn't matter. This is all for the cameras. This is all for the talking points, and this is all for her re-election campaign.
And historically used to suppress First Amendment activity.
Did you see there's a guy running against her that, and I'm trying to get him on the show, but he is running on the platform of if he gets elected, he will live in MacArthur Park until it is cleaned up. Now, I know that's a stunt, but that's a stunt I can get behind. Hopefully we have that guy on the show soon.
And historically used to suppress First Amendment activity.
So are you talking the 40 and the gas, or are you talking everything in 481?
40 and the gas.
Okay. Bottom line is that if you take away less lethal tools, what alternatives are left for the officers to protect themselves and the public in the field during a violent encounter? I don't know if you've been at these violent encounters and looked at it from where the officers stand. It is a very difficult situation, and they try, and I'll tell you, during the recent unrest in June, the level of resilience, the level of their ability to be able to withstand what they were doing was admirable. And
this is a chief that has his officers' backs, but I can understand why staffing levels are as low as they are, because the city council does not have their back. and the mayor does not have their back.
And I look at the work that was done out there, and we have become a model for the rest of the country for handling crowd management and crowd control situations. We take this all very, very seriously. We don't employ any tool or tactic without giving considerable thought to it. I would invite you to come along and look at what we do and get educated on the issue that you're about to vote on. I'm happy to do that. I have a standing invitation to you on a ride-along and to see anything we have in the department. I think it would be very helpful.
No, they're not going to do that.
Thank you for that opportunity. Now, my ask was around any data. Do you have any data? And also, can you please tell us?
Because, data is the most important thing, as George Gascon has said.
You can come up with data to support almost any argument.
And also,
data shows that harm reduction works.
And also, can you please tell us?
Data on what?
On the efficacy of using these tools.
Right now, from here?
Well, you can come back. I'm asking you for data. If you don't have it now, you can come back.
I'm happy to meet with you and give you whatever data that we can provide that would make sense. I can tell you from an experience standpoint that the tools you're talking about de-escalate a situation and limit any.
It causes a unruly crowd to disperse and not get even more unruly, destroying more businesses. Like the looting that was going on in downtown LA.
Any damage to an individual in that environment, that's the reason we use them. The last thing we want to do is use deadly force. So the intermediate force options that we have pursuant to 481 here are a tremendous lifesaver for officers and the public alike.
Understood.
And I'm happy to show you that any day of the week.
Yeah, no, I think it would be great for all of us to hear since we all have to vote on it.
Yeah.
And last question, Council President. Now, after the raids, after the first few protests that were occurring, some of us met with the Board of Police Commissioners, and they talked about how there was maybe over 60 cases that were being identified of overuse of force. And so when you say that these tools or weapons are model for the rest...
Because, police commissions are totally always on the side of the cops, right? You mean like the police commission in Oakland that says you can't chase suspects?
Tools or weapons are model for the rest of the country. That concerns me because we're about to start receiving all those lawsuits. And lawsuit payouts for LAPD are one of the highest that we experience as a city. So if the
it's right up there with broken sidewalks.
So if the model that people are mirroring is one where it's going to cost their city budget a ton of money, then I think we need to reconsider.
You talk about complaints. We're an organization that takes a complaint anytime anybody makes an allegation that something may be misconduct or worse. We take every complaint. We investigate it fully.
I thank goodness there are people out there that want to do this job, that want to put their lives on the line to protect us. It is an incredibly important and necessary job. I don't know how you do it. I really don't. Because this city, by proof of how many people are in elected office that are just straight up anti-cop, are in office. I don't like it.
We do use of force reviews and investigations and then adjudicate them in a way that has been replicated not only nationally but internationally. And we have been the model for that for about 22 years now. So when we talk about these things, I take them very seriously, because we put a tremendous amount of effort over many years into ensuring we do the best job we can for the residents of Los Angeles. That is recognized by other experts in the field who look at this stuff every day. And I would love to educate you more than has been done in the past about the issues we're talking about today.
Oh, it's a nice ask, Jim, but she's not going to take you up on that, because the only way she gets reelected is to energize her base that cop bad.
We're talking life or death here on the decision.
Eunisses ran and won and knocked out a longtime incumbent on defund the police. She is not changing her stripes.
100%, and it's 2025, and I'm sure you're an expert in this, that there's other tools that can be used that don't blow off.
Can we figure out how to, weaponize the Vulcan nerve pinch? That would be great. Or I don't know. How about the Men in Black thing where we shoot out the button and then everyone loses their memory for 10 seconds? There should be a better way to do this. There should be a better way to disable vehicles and take care of high-speed chases. But I think right now this is the tools that we have. Well, this is Just the beginning, folks. We've heard what Eunisses and Jim McDonnell had to say. We'll hear when we come back what Hugo and Jim McDonnell want to say. If you want to chime in on this, 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. What do you think? Eunisses Hernandez and Hugo Soto Martinez want to ban LAPD for being able to use projectiles and tear gas when breaking up riots like the ones we saw in June. Do you think those tools should be banned? 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. If you're in law enforcement, either in LAPD or outside LAPD, please call in. Let us know what you think about this. 800-222-5222. 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. The DSA members of the LA City Council want to ban the LAPD from being able to use projectiles and sprays to disperse riots. What say you? Do you agree with that viewpoint? Do you disagree? Especially if you're law enforcement, call in, tell me what you think about this conversation going on between Eunisses Hernandez, Hugo Soto Martinez, and LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell. 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay right there because we're going to your calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls. 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails at randywangradio@gmail.com. Search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Randy Wang Radio. Let's get right to the calls. Eunisses Hernandez and Hugo Soto Martinez of the LA City Council unsuccessfully tried to ban LAPD from being able to use dispersal methods in a riot like projectiles and spray. What say you? 800-222-5222. Let's start with Dave in Agora Hills. Dave, hello.
Hello, how you doing, sir?
Doing great.
Just wanted to thank you and John for all the effort you put in on covering California and topics like this. And if it wasn't for the fact that you guys make me bust up laughing during afternoon workouts, you'd be perfect.
Well, we can only do our best.
That's it. What I called about is in agreement with the continuing use of dispersal agents like gas and like projectiles. Used safely and appropriately, they're going to injure minor compared to what could happen. And I've had buddies. I was 39 years law enforcement, and they've saved a lot of lives, to be honest. But the point I made to your screener was Midwest and some down south police departments will put out on Facebook feeds from their traffic stops, high-speed chases. A lot of them are using the grappler. I cannot espouse its efficacy or statistical, but what I've seen, it's stunning, and it just stops the car dead if you're within proximity of it as a pursuing.
So I'm going to imagine this is kind of like what would be in a James Bond car. Yeah,
it extends from probably a police SUV as a. I want to say it's fiber. It's almost like you when you get something tangled in a flywheel or something, and it just draws it to a stop. That's a simplification, but it shoots it out at a reasonable distance, and then I've seen them yank the axle out of the vehicle, dead stop. They can't go anywhere. They cannot go anywhere. But you do need an SUV or something heavy to stop the fleeing vehicle, and you have to be within a certain distance.
Well, I'm looking at the video of this right now. That's brilliant. I'm going to be watching videos about this all night. That is great because some of these chases are going on way too long, and we got to do something to stop them.
That is, I do not know the expense. I do know, and I don't have the statistical compilation of the success rate. You'd have to contact the agencies, but what I'm seeing, it's pretty uniform, and they're knocking them stopping them dead.
I love it. Rip the axle out right from the car. Well, I love to hear that. Dave, thanks so much for calling in. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you for all you do. Bye-bye.
Thank you for all that you've done. We really appreciate it. Let's go to Brent in L.A. Brent, hello.
Hi, Randy. How are you?
Doing great.
Oh, and a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I think all of these people are just liars, thieves, frauds, and traitors. Police Chief McDork doesn't give a crap about his officers or about the citizens of Los Angeles. He's proved that over and over. You call 911, you don't get through. There is absolutely no protection, and that he won't stand up for these guys and say, are you insane? Are you absolutely crazy? You'd rather us use firearms? Okay, let's do that. And that's how it used to be done. Riots were never allowed in the past. You shoot rioters. And we've had this attitude that we have to keep protecting them when our city is being burnt down to the ground and everybody's running around in fear. It's absolutely insane and traitorous.
Well, I want you to stay tuned, Brent, because the exchange that McDonnell has with Hugo, he gets a little more animated specifically about what you're suggesting. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. I always wonder, like, who exactly are we talking about in these riots? Are we talking about the agitators and the outside people, like the firebomb guy that was a 50-year career criminal, or are the protesters just so outrightly outraged, you know, like what Imelda says?
Those who are protesting want to get louder. They want to get more violent.
All right, Hugo, it's your turn.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I just want to be clear to my colleagues. I think there was a misrepresentation of what I'm trying to accomplish here. It's not about taking away tools from LAPD to...
That's literally what you're doing.
...use less lethal in cases when they're confronting someone with a weapon. And even if we were to vote on this and take away the 40 millimeter and the tear gas, police officers still have FN 303, they have distraction devices, tasers, beanbags, 37 millimeter.
By the way, the tasers don't work if you're on meth.
And pepper spray to de-escalate that situation. So even if we were to take it away, let's not fall for the argument that all of a sudden they have no tools. That's simply not true. The issue that I'm trying to get to,
although pepper spray is a lot harder to deal with a whole crowd of people, that there's way more of them than there are of you. And if they realize that they can take over because you have no means to stop them because you've been handicapped by the city, then the mob takes over. Then what happens?
The issue that I'm trying to get to is how this city is being perceived in the moment where folks are hitting the street to protest against the authoritarian federal government.
So wait, then who's doing the rioting, Hugo? Because if you want to say the peaceful protesters are not the rioters, then why do you have a problem with the police dealing with the rioters? The people who were breaking pieces of concrete off of the street and chucking them at the police. The people who, and I'm never going to give up on this, are torching WAYMOs.
And the rise of fascism in America and how we as a city are acting. And the two places, Chief, where I find issue, and I've made this many times in the last few months, is how we are using the 40 millimeter and the tear gas. Mm. And when I'm guided by whether this is correct or incorrect, I'm looking at AB 48. AB 48, a law that was passed that says how we use kinetic projectiles, in this case, the 40 millimeter or the tear gas. And I know you're familiar with this. I hope you're familiar with this. And the law literally says that these can only be used when de-escalation tactics or other alternatives to force have been attempted. This is not a de-escalation. Using 40 millimeter.
This is after the unlawful assembly has been declared, people are refusing to leave, and they're committing violent acts against other people and the police. But okay.
Using 40 millimeter should not be viewed as a de-escalation tactic. It should only be used when de-escalation has failed.
No, it's a continuum.
Sir, I'm reading the law.
Go ahead.
By the way, you notice how he won't address him as chief, he addresses him as sir?
Second of all, AB 48 says that using the 40 millimeter projectiles, it's target specific. That it is up to the police officer to identify the person that is causing the so-called violence or threat to violence, and that person can be hit with the 40 millimeter projectile.
Right.
I find it hard to believe that on June 8th, we shot over 1,000 of these projectiles to 4,000 to 6,000 people.
So what do you want to have happen? Because it seems like what they want is for the cops to have standed down. You know, so we get a situation like the riots of 1992.
That is not target specific. I make that argument. How is shooting 1,000 projectiles to 6,000 people on June 8th target specific in the lawful use of projectiles based on AB 48 of state law?
Yeah, the number you're quoting there is not 40 millimeters, it's total. 37 millimeters and 40. 37 millimeters are skipped off the ground. Yeah, you may roll your eyes, but...
What was 600, one was 600, the other one was 400. I mean, we can start parsing the numbers, but tell me how we're following AB 48
a lot of
when
those
this is supposed to be
projectiles,
target specific.
They do not hit their target, many of those projectiles. And you're in a very kinetic, very chaotic, very violent environment. And officers, we have body-worn cameras that you could look. If you care to come and see how we do business, we're happy to show you.
Yeah, they don't care. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. Let's go to Lisa in L.A. Lisa, hello.
Hi, I just was calling in regards how you mentioned the other person that's running against Eunisses, Hernandez. He actually is for the one that's doing the rallies for anti-Dodgers, ICE, and also he was advocate for Kilmer Garcia, so I don't think he's any better. I mean, there's other candidates. Unfortunately, they don't have as much, social media as he does. But like, how can he be pro Kilmer, which he, is the known wife beater and all that, and he usually has his daughter with him. I mean, that's his that's his choice. But myself, I live in CD1, and I just don't want that kind of a person to represent us because, again, he's not any better, and he's also for the illegal vendors.
Well, if you know somebody that you think is better that is running for that seat, send them this way. Get them to contact the show. Let's bring them on and let's publicize that campaign. This is the first person I've heard that's running against Eunisses.
Yes, if I can mention one of them, her name is Elaine Alanis, and she actually ran the last time with Eunisses, and because of all the DSA, they booed her off and everything. But I'll see if I can get a hold of her. And again, her name is Elaine Alanis also.
Great. Well, if you can get in contact with the campaign, send them to us, and we'll bring them on the show and try to do what we can to let people know. Thanks so much for the call, Lisa. Appreciate it. Let's go to Jonathan in West L.A. Jonathan, hello.
Hi, Randy. Great show. You guys are always the best. And I've gone down to the commission meetings a lot. I appreciate Jim. I think the police are doing a great job. I think the things that we're talking about are quite unique. And as far as, being Donald Trump round up and deport kind of stuff, and just a mix of good people and bad people out there at the same time. And I think what they should do when, rocks and concrete and bottle rockets get sent to the police department, they should do a complete emergency containment of every single, block down there that's got anybody in it, until they and put a situation of arrest on everybody till they find out who was doing it. And I think that would remove the need for gas and 40 millimeter rounds, which are very, very painful if they hit you within 30-40 feet. That is an amazing assault, that 40 millimeter. I've seen a lot of pictures of people very hurt. But I do believe that the chief, Jim McDonnell, is doing a very good job, is doing the best he can. The kind of complications that they're dealing with really has a lot to do with Congress and the $38 trillion of debt. That's really what the real problem is that nobody wants to talk about and tell the truth about what the problem the LAPD is facing is not them, it's the Congress. And we're going on $39 trillion of debt. They're not even going to stop spending this money. But Randy, I appreciate you taking my call. Appreciate your love for humans and all of us, and having things hopefully become better. And that's why we love you guys so much, you and John. So I'm going to go. I'll call back when I love your show. I listen all the time. So.
Well, thank you so much for the call, Jonathan. I do appreciate it. And I think there is something to what he said. If there is a certainty of arrest, some of this behavior is not going to happen at all. But what we have seen whenever these riots occur is a ton of destructive behavior. The police do what they can to disperse the crowd, but all these agitators, most of them, don't get arrested. And that's not on the LAPD or even the police chief. That's on the elected officials that tell them don't arrest anybody because that'll look bad. Even though they like to say that the rioters are not the protesters, unless you're Eunisses, unless you're Imelda.
Those who are protesting want to get louder. They want to get more violent.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Hey, do I have something great for you? Let's do this right now. 790 KABC welcomes Weird Al Yankovic, the bigger and weirder 2026 tour at the Acrisure Arena, September 13th, 2026. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. But right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-795-2222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing. If you're on hold, stay there. Right back to the calls. Next, it's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's go to Bernard in South LA. Bernard, hello.
Hey, I'm here.
Howdy.
How you doing, Randy?
Doing great.
Okay, so I wanted to jump on here real quick and say it's funny because I listen to a lot of right-leaning radio stations just because I feel like we have to understand what the other side thinks. And the one thing I noticed was common across a lot of shows like yours is you guys try to make the police out to be victims. You try to make the police out to be scared to be doing these jobs that are just so tough. And you never mention the fact that they're the ones that are out there wearing the bulletproof vest. They're the ones out there with tons of weapons on them, yet they're supposed to be scared to come into contact with the regular public, and they can't act accordingly with their policies and our laws to do the things that they need to be doing. You guys are always ready to back them up so tough when they're oppressing a certain demographic. But when
who have they been oppressing lately? Who did they oppress? Who did they oppress?
Who hasn't? Who? Nobody's ever been oppressed in this nation, Mr. Wang? I mean,
who has been oppressed by the LAPD recently? Give me a specific example that you're talking about.
So you want an example of people being oppressed?
Would love that, but we don't have time. We're out of time. But thanks so much for the call. Call back anytime. Just be more specific when you're going to make allegations like that. Generalities don't get us anywhere. Currently, you have police officers that are not being allowed to use the tools that they have to do their jobs, and that's making things difficult. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.